This meeting of the Bixby City Council, March 23rd, 2015, at 6:08 p.m. Yvonne, you gonna call the roll?
Loudermilk.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Totoroff.
Here.
Guthrie.
Here.
And Easton.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yvonne?
Maybe we'll bow our heads. Lord, you know our weaknesses and our failings. I pray that you grant this council the help of your grace according to the particular night's meeting. Please lead and direct them according to your will and not theirs. I ask all these prayers in your precious Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Let's begin with the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion, questions on the consent agenda?
I do, Mayor, number F.
Good, I'm glad you pulled that up, as I was going to. Go ahead.
The question I had is, I understand that the Blackboard service is something that's used for both the city and public safety to communicate with. I myself am a Blackboard instructor. I utilize Blackboard in disseminating my classes where I work. However, I don't know if really, I don't know if there's a justification for that. Is there a list of how many citizens utilize the service, who has signed up for it? I know for me personally, I've tried to sign up for it, and it just seems problematic. I'm still not able to function on it, and I actually teach Blackboard. So I don't know, I don't know, really, is this the best?
Well, my question was how many people are using it? Who's in charge of that? Doug, Chief, or?
Well, Chief is our coordinator
We
on
use
it, as
it-
our
we use
emergency
it that
management
much?
coordinator.
We use it quite a bit. I know Public Works is used it a number of times. We've used it, the fire use it. We also use it for court. And that's actually the direction we went as far as financing it to be able to, through the court system. I know Betty's looking at some other ways as far as, I think from the water department and things of that nature. So it's not just from our standpoint, it's also from the court and also other things that we utilize. We try to look at from the standpoint, we reach out through a number of areas. I know when we first started, there were some questions that as far as getting on the Blackboard Connect. We had a number of people call, we walked them through the project to get them on, as far as especially cell phones and things of that nature. So anybody that basically from a landline standpoint is in the city limits, it goes on directly on to Blackboard, and of course, anybody that wants to, they can add cell phones and things of that nature from that standpoint. We continually reach out through meetings and things of that nature, homeowner associations, anything that we speak in front of groups. We always talk about the Blackboard Connect and things of that nature, in order for them to be able to sign up and be able to utilize that. One thing that's been good, I think, from the court standpoint, is get information out. And I think we've seen a reduction a little bit as far as warrants due to the fact because people are getting that information. They are able to appear in court. Sometimes they forget about their court appearance and things of that nature. So we continue to look at other ways to utilize it, and also then basically continue on as far as getting information out from various department heads.
I might add to that, just if I may, Council, thank you, Chief, for that. The point that Chief made earlier was that there was a special fee created that is paid really through the court system, which provides the funding for this, and those dollars are not available to fund any other projects the way it was set up. So actually all the rest of the departments and operations of the city, including the utility authority, receive benefit from it. The primary benefit was seen to be flowing through to the court system, and as he said, we're giving reminders to people about their court appearances. And word I've gotten back from the court clerk is that it was helping. We're also reminding people that might have failed to appear that there is a warrant that's being issued because they failed to appear, and sometimes they just forget. So it is, in a sense, customer service to them, but it does help bring additional revenues beyond that into the state. So there's a primary benefit there. I would also hold it out to you as something of an insurance policy. You see, all landlines, as was mentioned, were populated in the database in the first place, and it's almost the kind of thing you hope we never have to use. And it's a success, though, that it's there. You can rely on it in a moment's notice. I'm pleased that the department heads are using it for water outages, where they'll notify people in a given area where we've had other incidents where we're notifying a fine portion of the city so as not to disturb others, that there's an issue, an emergency issue. And of course, we always have it. I know Ike wished he had it a few years ago when we had the manhunt that went through neighborhoods, trying to alleviate concern in an appropriate manner. We used it, I'll remind you, when we had that heavy, massive heavy vehicle transport coming through our community. We were giving updates to the community as to be careful. There's going to be extended traffic on Memorial, and people, as much as you think they might have read the Tulsa World about it, many people don't. So we were getting the word out. We try not to overuse it so as to not wear out its welcome. And I think in terms of getting the most out of it, I enjoin this council as public officials to help us get more people aware of it and to sign up. And Councilman, we appreciate you sharing that you had difficulty getting into it. We'd like to work with you, given your background, and just as a citizen, I know Ike would welcome it if we together figure out, can we make the instructions a little simpler so that people that become aware of it can self-enroll. And I know this is the kind of thing, whenever we're talking to homeowners associations, and we talked at staff meeting this morning about periodically getting the reminder out, because as people move into our community, they may not know about it. In fact, one of the recommendations coming forth from this morning's staff meeting was that perhaps we put a flyer in the welcome kits so that when people are first coming to Bixby who might not have gotten the newsletter that went out last time, that this is right in there. And so I think through a combination of efforts to get people notified, you can't make them sign up, but I think if we continue to encourage them in that manner, that will help. And so I will tell you that when I've been in cities that didn't have such a tool, I was envious of those that did, because we can't possibly make the calls manually to get people. And so it's designed to be there when you need it. And for me, that's not good enough. I like the fact that we are indeed using it. And it's not like if we didn't have it that this would be more money for some other project. I think that enters into my thinking as well.
Well, then that brings up two questions then. Is the first one that I have is still, do we have an estimate of how many people utilize this tool? It's a good tool, and it's a valuable tool, and I see the importance of it. But then if this expenditure is not approved, where does this $12,481 go? Does it go back to the court fund, or is it?
I believe these dollars flow into the general fund, but the purpose that council expressed in passing it was to fund the particular item. So that was the policy intent expressed by council.
So this is $12,000 back to the general fund then?
It would be. It would be the general fund. And as far as a number, we can get a detailed count rather than estimated, and we'd be happy to provide that to you all. Ike, I don't know if you have any kind of rough estimates. I don't like to put you on the spot.
B, you say you have some numbers?
Yes, I do. I have them. Last time I did a citywide, I selected, there were about 7,240 people.
How many?
Contact, 7,240.
7,000.
So,
That includes-
less than 1/3 of the city signed up to it.
So that includes the landlines,
That's a lot of people, a lot of phones.
Or
a lot of
contacts,
numbers.
yeah.
plus,
Things that we can, people that we can reach.
and since we're on, broadcasting to the folks at home, we do encourage them to go to our website, www.bixbyok.gov. That's bixbyok.gov. And you'll find under Blackboard Connect an opportunity for you to sign up. We encourage you to enroll your family members, their mobile devices in these, because you may be at work. Perhaps your kids are home from school, and you can get a notification of something that's up. So it's efficient mass communications for us.
How long, 1 year is how long this has been in place, right?
It's been in place a little over a year, as I recall. Yeah, we brought it to you, well, actually, it's coming up on a year, and that's why we're here today. That first year contract is set to expire, so.
I think 1 year is a little too soon to know how good the system's gonna interact with the community as well.
Third's a pretty good number, but it'd be nice if we could push it somehow.
That is a
through
good
the
number.
Water bill flyer thing, or maybe when we do the, if we're gonna do the Christmas, by Bixby again, maybe we start to push it more.
We try to include it in every newsletter. We have it on our website. I really like the idea that we've done before, and we talked about this morning, is again, pumping it out through the neighborhood associations. Many of them have email networks among their groups. And again, as speakers, I know Mayor's speaking to the Rotary Club tomorrow, and that's typically something that he tries to mention.
Maybe half those Rotarians don't live in Bixby.
But they come here, you know, and people have businesses here, they may not reside, or they know people that do. So it's a way of engaging our community at a relatively low cost that does not currently compete with any other programs. So, and it is working well, and I think maybe paying for itself over time with what's happening with the courts. But and we're looking to extend that to the water utility bills for cut-off notices. Think about that. Having a courtesy phone call made to you that there's something in the mail that's coming to you. And we talk about water service and precious hours of time. We think that could be very helpful too. So that's the latest use that we're researching and hope to put in place. So I'll be, those are my responses. And I really appreciate the good discussion on it.
If I could echo what's already been said about the court system, I know that before each court, Monday before, we have court on Tuesday, Blackboard Connect is used to notify everybody, remind them of their court date. Now, for you and I, most of us, we think we would remember our court date, but a lot of people don't. But I think it ultimately helps the workload of the court by clearing some of those cases out, by reminding people to take care of their ticket, or they have to be in court that day. And I think it's resulted in increased revenue as well as decreased caseload for those that actually show up in court and want their case disposed of in front of a judge.
Okay, do those ticket holders have to become a part of Blackboard Connect, or when they get the ticket, are they automatically connected to Blackboard Connect?
It's taken out of the database.
So it's not, they don't get this.
They don't have to be in the system.
What about water bill people? Are they,
We usually try to get a phone number.
At the time of enrollment in our water
so
system.
if they're not enrolled in Blackboard Connect and their water's about to be cut off, they're not gonna get a,
They will, because we'll enter that information into Blackboard Connect. We'll load
Manually.
those phone numbers in there. and
well, I'm bringing that up because I had an irate citizen comment on the nasty little printout they got today, but they got a notice that their water was about to be cut off. I thought, you got a notice, that was a lot better than, yeah, but it was cold-hearted. Anyway.
It's better being in the shower and just stopping all of a sudden.
I thought, well, so is that new, that,
We haven't launched it
Speak
yet.
from experience.
well, no, this guy showed it to me.
Well, the cutoff
The
notice,
cutoff,
that's long
you've
standing.
always sent those, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
And some cities, I think, have stopped sending those because of the mailing expense.
Well,
And they figure,
I-
well, you
I-
should know.
Told this gentleman, I thought, well, you at least got a notice.
Yes.
Might as well pay his bill. Okay. Richie, would you like to pull item F from the vote
Yes, sir.
on consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the consent agenda exclusive of item F?
So moved.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Totoroff.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Guthrie.
Yes.
And Easton.
Yes. Do we have a motion now for consideration on item F of the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Stewart,
No,
who did that?
no, he,
Guthrie, Guthrie,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Stewart,
No.
and Totoroff.
Yes.
And Easton.
No. Let's go to the regular meeting. Item number 1, discuss and/or take action on change order number 3 and adjustment of quantities for the bridge and drainage structures portion of Vision 2025 Hickey Creek Flood Project. Jared.
Yes, Mayor Council, in laying out the bridge, this is on Mingo. We had a number of utility conflicts that we've been working through, and as we did begin to dig down for the footing portion of the head wall and wing walls, we did encounter another utility conflict with the 16-inch water line. And as we begin to look at the layout of the drainage structure versus the layout of our utilities, we did feel like we had more advantages in adjusting the wing walls as compared to relaying the 16-inch pipe in that area. So what we've elected to do, the contractors come back and ask for some additional cost in relocating his dewatering equipment to dig the footing. And looking at our costs, we did feel like that was going to be a lesser cost than relocating the water line. So we're recommending that we execute a change order as a cost avoidance measure to move the head wall as compared to move the water line.
Any discussion, questions to Jared?
You've got those lines labeled now, so you know where they are in the future?
They're deep.
Yes.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Totoroff,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Guthrie,
Yes.
and Easton.
Yes. Discuss and/or take action on real estate purchase agreement for 2011 bond 111th and Mingo intersection widening project. Jared.
Mayor and Council, these particular items are contracts dealing with real property acquisition. Patrick, I'm not sure how we should style the motion here.
I've reviewed both contracts, and I'm good with them, so.
Now, this
if
one's
that's-
on the
if that's
north.
your concern.
Northwest corner.
Is there any way that we should, in particular, since we have the discussion, executive session style, these are just, that's okay.
Just a motion to approve.
Do we have a motion on item number 2?
Move to approve.
Second.
Stewart,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Totoroff,
Yes.
Guthrie.
Yes.
And Easton.
Yes. Item number 3, discuss and/or take action on real estate purchase agreement for the 2000 bond 111th and Mingo widening project southeast corner. Jared.
Yes, Mayor and Council, same project. With this acquisition, we will be able to move forward, closing the property and advance the schedule with ODOT to get to construction hopefully in the near future.
Questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Totoroff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Guthrie.
Yes.
And Easton.
Yes. Item number 4, discuss and/or take action on authorizing legal services from Frazier and Phillips for the land acquisitions of the 111th and Mingo intersection widening projects. Jared?
Yes, Mayor and Council, on recent projects, street projects, we have engaged Phil Frazier to help us do the title research, title opinion, and conduct the closings on our right-of-way projects. And he is able to do those in a fairly timely manner, and we would recommend using his services again. We use them on 111th and Memorial and some of our other real estate acquisition projects, and we'd recommend continuing using his services there.
Discussion? Questions? Motion?
Move
Do we
to
have a-
approve.
Second.
Totoroff,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Stewart,
No.
Guthrie.
Can I ask one question before I vote? Cost on that was,
What we've seen is $2,500 or less. It's
is that gonna include both of those pieces, or is that gonna be 2,500 each?
$2,500 each is typically what it's been to conduct a closing. That includes the title opinion, the abstract, bring it up to date, and the closing. That's what we've seen on some of the other projects.
The other folks
Not
do
this.
the bring it abstract up to date though, don't they?
The appraisers did not.
No,
Oh,
but
the seller, yes, the seller, right. So that would be the title opinion and closing. And previously, we've done these in an amount not to exceed $2,500.
No.
And Easton.
That's. Yes. Item number 5, consider, discuss, and approve resolution number 2015-06, approving and adopting a Bixby City Council handbook and code of ethics. Patrick?
Fair Council, I know that you had a good deal of material that was distributed to you before this meeting, and hopefully this weekend you had a chance to peruse what is contained in the City Council handbook, or at least the proposed handbook, and I'm gonna try to see if I can get my bookmarks up here, but essentially what you have is what I think will be a handbook that could be presented to a brand-new counselor and even a seasoned counselor to kind of refresh them, let them know exactly how city business is conducted and how perhaps they should conduct themselves as prescribed by this council. You do have a good deal of what I'll call boilerplate or standard references in here that I think every counselor should have. You have the council rules, you have the charter, you have the trust indentures, both the BPWA, the Bixby Public Works Authority, as well as the Bixby Industrial Trust Authority in here for references when this council becomes one of those, either of those entities. You have the Tort Claims Act that will be included in this. Now, we just have an explanation of the Tort Claims Act in here right now. Some of this is to be supplemented later. You have an explanation of the Open Meeting Act, as well as the Act itself. And to be included in here, you have the Open Records Act will be supplemented in the near future. You also have some guidelines to establish the ethical standards that this council expects its members to follow. I think if you look at tab 5 or 7 of those are where the guidelines are provided. A good part of this was taken from the Sand Springs handbook that they prepared. Obviously, it had to be modified for the city of Bixby. And so there's a good deal of material there. I don't think I need to go over all of it. You may have specific questions about certain portions of it that we can discuss. I know that the mayor is something that he thought would be helpful to any new counselor. And so it's submitted to you with a resolution to adopt this handbook for guidelines for future counselors as well as yourselves. With that, I recommend approval of it, absent discussion.
Do I have discussion on,
I just received it today, so there's not much discussing I can do.
Well, it's gold.
As I can say now, some of the counselors probably saw that I held back and spoke with the mayor and with Mr. Bolden. I want to say thank you for your work, sir. As a council, we have this document, the charter, that dictates what we do. And I believe that, and particularly when you look at tab 5 and 7, I think in its attempt to define charter roles, it goes beyond the charter. And so I have just some concerns about that. When I looked through this, I didn't see much other issues other than tab 5 and 7. I'd be inclined to either put this off for further discussion with our city attorney or approval without tab 5 and 7. I just see a lot of issues here where, in an attempt to do due diligence and define the charter, in some instances, we're actually tying counselors' hands. The charter dictates what we're supposed to do. And it's kind of like when people try to define the Constitution, they sometimes get into a pretty crappy lake. And so I think that in some cases here, we find that this really just, there's a lot of instances, and like I brought up, a couple instances, there's instances here, looking through tab 7, I would respectfully ask we have more time to go over this and to ask you any questions that come up as individual counselors, and then come together as an entity.
If I can just briefly address, and we talked before the meeting,
And I'm not being disrespectful.
and-
I want you to know I appreciate your work.
and the feeling's mutual. I know that the council can rely on the charter, and the charter is quoted in here. You can see it on the screen, that at least the lower half of it, where the charter is cited. What this particular tab 5 on dealing with personnel, is intended to really give examples of what could be in violation of charter, to protect counselors from accusations in the future. And it is not intended to expand upon it at all. And if there is any perceived expansion, certainly that's not intended. And reasonable people can disagree, but I believe it is consistent with charter and does not expand upon the charter prohibitions against the council interference with personnel.
Patrick, let's open up the public discussion on this. We have a gentleman here that wants to discuss item 5.
Yes, sir.
Or do you not, Ron? You're down here and it says item or topic. I didn't know.
It's agenda
Can you
item
please
5.
go to the,
Agenda item 5, yeah. What was it? That is, we are on agenda item 5.
yeah,
You
fine.
said, people thought you meant tab 5.
No, agenda item 5,
That's all right, Mayor.
the whole thing.
All right,
Yeah.
my name is Ron Bussard. I live at
I'm not trying to
14489.
put you on the spot.
I'm sorry,
I'll
South
let
Gary
Brian.
Place here in Bixby. I came to the meeting seeing what was on the agenda, and as a over 9-year citizen here in Bixby, and I have my family here, and my kids went through the schools here and stuff, and so frankly, the city clerk said, well, would you like to speak? And I said, well, I might want to. That's, and I want to be able to reserve that opportunity. And so we looked at the items, and I selected an item that I thought I might have some input on. And I will just simply say this then, in general terms, without hearing your discussion, and hopefully maybe being able, Mr. Mayor, to reserve the right to add a comment or two later on. But I just simply, in general terms, I just hope that the council will continue to work together to do the kinds of things that you've been doing for the last several years, whether it be street programs or parks or retail development, planning in neighborhoods, and those kinds of things. And in years past, I attended some planning commission meetings, and so I encourage you to do that. I appreciate the diversity that you have in representation and thoughts, but just hope that you'll continue to work. And I hear a lot of terms about being respectful, and that's what people, in my opinion, that's what we want, people who are thoughtful and respectful and talk through issues and get through them. And so, at this point, without hearing the discussion, I probably wouldn't have other things to say at this point. I guess I know this staff because I've either known them and or dealt with them in years past. And you all are blessed with an absolute wonderful professional group of people. And I've lived in other communities. I hope that you appreciate that. And frankly, I appreciate this council. And so I'm going to hold off with any other comments based on what I learned about this handbook and the things that you have before you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Richie or Pat, who did I interrupt?
Patrick, you were talking.
Well, I think I was really at a stopping point right there. We can talk about specific provisions, but I think that, just to key off what Mr. Bussard said, I probably messed that up, but I think the key word here that you'll find in some of the wording here is respect, mutual respect amongst counselors, mutual respect with the citizenry, with other boards and commissions. And what this this handbook is intended to do, particularly as it relates to personnel and interactions between this council and the public. It tries to give guidelines on how to respect the thoughts and ideas of others while maintaining your integrity in your own ideas. So respect, I think, is a key word that runs throughout this entire document.
Thank you. Richie?
Sir, there was even an instance here, and I'm trying to recall if it was 5 or 7, Patrick, you can help me, where there's actually a part where a counselor can be disciplined, which is even outlined it's outlined in the charter, correct?
It is under tab 7, conflicts of
Right.
interest.
Okay. But there, I believe there's also one tab 5 where if, let's say, for example, I make a request of Jared instead of Doug,
Right.
then Jared can submit in writing to Doug the offense. Then if I do it again, then there would be some type of discipline by the city manager to the counselor.
Well, that's, and you're.
Am
really
I
you're
reading
keying-
that correct?
You're keying off the charter right now. Section 2.5 really talks about if a counselor tries to direct employees, then the city manager is supposed to, I believe, contact and have a discussion with that counselor. If it happens again, I believe they're supposed to bring it to the council. I don't have that.
2.5 is city clerk.
2.4 is here, right here. Here, it is. I'm sorry, it's on the screen here. It's at the bottom.
Yes, 2.4. I believe I read it in tab 5, though, is where there was.
But that is a charter provision, correct?
That is a charter provision. I guess I'm trying to figure out,
It was repeated in the handbook for convenience sake.
when you look at tab 5 and 7, Patrick,
Yes, sir.
and that's where I'm having my problem here, is that we're trying to interpret the charter, and the charter, I believe, is the document that governs our actions. When we look at tab 5 and 7 and interpreting the charter, I see instances here where things are drawn up within this handbook that refer to something that really it should be going back to, instead of these inferences, it's back to the charter. What does the charter say about it? So if something should happen where a counselor has stepped out of bounds with the charter, then it goes back to what does the charter say? For example, the charter is really clear. The councilman can't have day-to-day interactions with the administration of the city. That's not their role. The mayor cannot have cannot be involved in city administration. The mayor's only really job is to oversee the city council meetings. And so that's what the charter says.
Yes,
And I
sir.
think that what we have in tabs 5 and 7 is trying to draw up these instances where they're vague. And so that's why I'm
sorry, what word did you?
they're vague.
Vague.
Yes, sir.
Gee, that's the opposite of what I tried to do, was to
I
make them
was gonna say
specific.
it seems like would be the opposite, because the charter is vague, and this would
Well-
seem to specify the
Yes.
charter.
And the instances what I'm talking about is no specific person is named or anything like that. It just seems like something that, well, if this happens or this. Again, it just seems like in interpreting the charter, we get into beyond the charter.
And I've already said that I don't feel it does. I think it's consistent with it. I think that the examples that are given in here are drawn from experience, not necessarily with counselors here, but from experience that I've had over my 32 years as a city attorney, and I've probably drawn on some of
So for
maybe
example,
other
here as I'm
counselors.
reading, and I apologize, go ahead.
I stopped. No, you're right. You're
Okay.
fine.
For tab 5, section D, it says here on from time to time, council members receive requests from citizens or wish to make their own request for provision of public services or make complaints or offer comments regarding public services rendered. A written reporting mechanism has been designed to facilitate the effective and efficient handling of such concerns. Council members and their constituents are urged to use it at all times. Citizens and council members seeking the provision of public services or wanting to register a complaint or offer comments should submit their request, email directly to the city's website at bixbyok.gov and contact us. You know, I'm sorry, again, this goes beyond interpreting what the charter says. It's perfectly okay for a citizen to bring up a concern to me in email, because I do it all the time, and that's how come I said to you, you know, before we came in here, I almost feel like sometimes when I read this, I was being personally attacked. Because what I do is I get an email and I just forward it to him. Okay, I don't go to bixby.gov and contact us, or I don't tell the citizen, hey, by the way, could you go to bixby.gov and contact us? You know what? I'm going to take the request, forward it over to the city manager, and that is not me getting involved in the daily operations of the city. It's actually servicing a customer.
Well,
And so there's no provision for me to come in here and say, or you can forward the request on yourself to the city manager.
I could address that, Councilman.
yes, sir.
It does certainly allow for, it doesn't prohibit someone from doing that. It said they're urged to use it. There is a system that's set up that we hold out as the most efficient means. And we think through together educating our citizens that the most direct method is to go through, if they can do an email, then they have the ability to reach that form. But we would welcome something that comes in. I think the key is that we're getting efficient communication. So just as we work together now, when you send me an email, that does provide me notice, and I can send it on to the appropriate person. I will tell you that one of the first stops it goes to is to get fed into that recording system, because we want to be accountable to the citizens and be able to be responsive. So the beauty of having a centralized system is that we can capture them, make sure it doesn't get lost or mishandled. We can keep track of how long it's been since the request came in. And so when we get a chance to talk to people, they go, well, that makes sense. I didn't know there was such a system. And so we urge people to do it. It doesn't mandate that happen.
So with the central system, if a citizen chooses, because I prefer to communicate with you directly, that way I know that you are informed of the situation.
You're welcome to do
In
that.
the central system, are you informed of the same situation? So for example, if someone, like I sent you an email concerning a slide, you know, that needed some repair. If that citizen went to there, would you be made aware of it?
That system is designed to allow me to know about it because they're collecting them. So that is because my responsibility to be apprised of how are we doing on handling our requests. So that is my goal and desire. But to get them in there is helpful for the organization. It's basically quicker. I like to know what's going on and know how we're doing it. But if someone asks me what's the quickest way, because I'm in meetings during the day, dealing with citizens or business issues, I might not get to see my email. Meanwhile, there's precious hours going by with that could have been reported directly into the system. So when I have my preference, I say, get it in there so that we can be aware of it. We can get it out to the public departments. They may be able to get working on it before I would even get a chance to read that email.
Is the mayor, I think.
So
it's-
So it's about efficiency.
So your department heads are picking that stuff off of bixbyok.gov?
Well, it gets fed into we call it the work order process. So it gets assigned a work order.
I can tell you what
They
happens
also
when,
get an automatic email.
Right.
For example, I received one for somebody asking about cleaning the stand of the streets in Greystone. It picked who they want.
So is that okay, but is that computer smart enough
yes,
to direct verbiage that's in that email to you, or to Jared, or to Betty,
or to
or
me.
someone else? Because people want to talk to their councilman. I'm just going to tell you. And
Sure.
I don't want to say, well, no, wait a minute, you need to call Bixby, go to bixbyok.gov. But what I do, now let's think about this, Richie. What I do is I say, I did prefer you send me an email so I can keep a record of what's going on. So what if we send it to bixbyok.gov and a copy to Doug, or a copy to Doug? But as far as hanging up from, one thing, you know, in business, I never hang up from a customer and tell him I'll get back with him, because then they're going to go down the street. So I think, I don't want to tell that citizen, no, you've got to call our website. You've got to have to go to your computer and get on that website. I don't want to do that. So, we could go ahead and take their
Yes, sir.
suggestions, and and what I do now is I FYI all my stuff to Doug. And so you want us to FYI it to bixbyok.gov as well?
We can have such a procedure.
So I
But then,
I can just
with
copy you.
bixbyok.gov gets
But we're-
the email at, they're saying go to the link and click contact us. And that
No, we're
brings up-
gonna do it. Well, we're gonna do it.
It's available to citizens.
So then you gotta change the handbook.
People do use
And
it.
that's why I'm bringing this up, Dennis.
I don't,
Okay.
I
No,
don't
that-
think it
that's
has to be
fine.
changed. I still think it allows that flexibility, but if
Well,
you don't
I mean,
think it does.
Well, I hear what
it
he's
can
saying.
be
Like I said, I haven't read the thing. I just got it today. Okay, so I'm probably abstaining anyway if this thing goes to a vote. All right, that's my gripe. Is because I mean it bounced back off my server and I get in there today and there's a book like this thing. I have a problem with any big legislation that we try to pass here coming out and on a Friday and we have to vote on Monday. I think something this substantial needs to be thought of for longer periods of time. That's my opinion. But anyway, but if you got things in here that kind of you have to circumvent this and circumvent that, then maybe it is too defined. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read it.
I would offer that, as I mentioned before, this is a tool that you can make available to people. Some people like that, but different strokes for different folks, and certainly some would prefer to send it via an email and not go to that form, or they might just simply want to do it verbal. You will encounter some folks, as you know, that don't have email. So we can accommodate all kinds of, we think the bulk of them can get best addressed the quickest by directing them, but by no means is it mandating anything.
There's another, I just have a lot of concern. I can keep going on all night. I don't have all night, but
Do we, okay.
It's okay.
If we got any, okay, we've heard from Brian, we've heard from Dennis and Richie. Do we have any other comments?
Do we have a code of ethics in place now?
No, sir.
Well, I think there's some stuff in the code of ethics that are very fitting. And I think there's some in the code of ethics that are probably needed. So, I think that's something that we should definitely discuss more. Because if we're elected to this position, we should have a code of ethics that we're operating under.
would it not be the charter, though, be our code of ethics? Because the charter outlines exactly what our roles and duties are.
Well, that's not ethics.
I honestly think this does put more detail in there, and for a brand-new counselor, this tells you what happens when this situation comes up. It talks about the focus of what a counselor should do in public, when it deals with the other counselors, when they deal with employees or not, or with other boards or commissions. So I think it's really needed for new counselors, as well as, everybody here needs to be reminded occasionally as to what's the preferred methodology. I can understand that a council member gets a call from a constituent about a pothole. You don't want to tell them they have to do that. And say, by the way, you can do this too, and then you can take care of it yourself. And you want to provide them one-stop shopping as much as the website provides them one-stop shopping, and you don't want to necessarily make it inconvenient for them at that one particular moment. That, to me, is perfectly acceptable on here. We just want you to encourage them to try and use the website so we can document the situation and they can be provided the services that the city wants to.
How is the charter, and it's enacted by a vote of the people, correct?
Yes, sir. And it's approved by the governor.
And so what we have here in these ground rules, it goes beyond the charter. It goes beyond what I definitely swore to uphold. And it goes, again, it just seems like we're trying to interpret something, yet here, these are standards that aren't enacted by the people, so this is just guidelines. I really don't have to follow.
That's exactly right.
Correct.
I don't have to follow them.
That's right.
And that's what I'm saying. We have
Well, I take that back. The charter's in there, and you do have to follow that.
charter, correct.
And this is intended to expand
when you
upon
look
it.
at-
But when you get down to specific
when you look at the
situations,
specifics, correct.
you get to operate independently, and if you don't think it violates the code of ethics, then have at it. There is the only real sanction that is possible out of this code of ethics is the ability for the council to basically admonish the council member.
In public.
Yeah, in
Say,
public.
hey, don't do that anymore.
And frankly, there's a,
Number 4.
I'll call it progressive discipline provision in there, that you start with an individual counselor talking with a council member, then you go to the mayor talking with the council member, and if it doesn't resolve, then
It's like the book of Matthew.
perhaps you probably know it better than I do. But I think that it doesn't necessarily go straight to the public slap on the hand. Hopefully, there's open dealing and understanding amongst council members that, some things happen, and hopefully it won't have to go that far.
Richie, most of your objections were in tab 5.
Yes, sir. I had,
Brian, what were you reading? Where was your?
and there's some in tab 7 as well.
You had something that.
No, I just thought a code of ethics was,
And it's in here.
it is, yeah. I just thought that was something that we should have in place. Whenever I got my license as a real estate agent, the first thing I had to do, required, is code of ethics. And, people need to read that.
But if people would follow the charter, then that would fall into place.
I think all this would fall into place if they followed the charter.
Yes, sir. And that's why I object to 5 and 7.
And I
Particularly
guess
5.
that's where we disagree, because the charter is one paragraph, and I think the council members, new and old, need more guidance than that. That's my opinion. I only submit this as your handbook. You can not pass it, or you can do whatever you want to with it. I certainly recommend passage, but it's strictly for you and for the benefit of future councils and councilors,
I think that,
in my opinion.
I want to echo Councilman Loudermilk's. Reiterate what he said was, it would have been nice to have gone over this as a group before getting it right.
I know that, and that's why I believe the mayor at least wanted to give you a heads up last council meeting. We just really finalized it this last week, and so it's up
It's
to
one of the things I'd like to see, that probably isn't, since I haven't read it, is that any major legislation that affects the council ought to be given a month to review. Is that in there anywhere?
along with never mind, provision that talks about councilors being prepared for council. But I don't mean, you're in a bad situation, you were out of town, and you didn't have access to the book. So I think that's perfectly understandable.
I was out of town, so.
And I'm not saying you should vote on it today. I think your
And
position
did you
about
know
abstention
this
is
coming
fine.
up?
Then it doesn't come up for this meeting until the agenda was held out on Thursday, and I was already gone.
You're gone.
So what am I gonna do? And it bounced back, it was too big to fit in my mailbox, so.
Right.
Was that the actual agenda
The attachment,
packet?
the attachment to this thing here.
The digital.
Because I don't think actually it was, I don't know if it was
It's in the
actually,
digital
was it
book.
included, the handbook, in the
It's in the
digital?
digital book. that got sent
Oh, it is?
out. Yeah.
Oh, that's a
probably
big
why
one.
it wasn't?
I don't think so. 'cause
No,
I got
it
this-
wasn't.
It was?
It wasn't in
It
there.
wasn't, okay.
It was
It
So,
was-
so even if Dennis had access to computer, he still wouldn't be able to have read the book, correct?
Right.
It's all damn, so, if I would've tried, I was damned to do it, so. 'Cause I know I didn't see it, I was like.
So your
just had to go out.
your
Because I
position,
saw
I
the
think,
handbook in there.
You just had to go get some
I
R&R
get the emails,
minutes.
I read them, I'm
Jeez.
like, okay, and I'll start reviewing them and get an idea of what I gotta start drilling in on, and I saw the handbook, I don't see a handbook.
and I'm sorry it wasn't available for you to review.
I don't mind voting on set rules and standards. I think it's good. I think Councilman Guthrie brings up a good point. We should adhere to some ethics. I mean, that's definitely, we see the problem in Congress is a lack of ethics. But I would just like to have more time to discuss, input, ask questions.
I think if you pass a code of ethics here, it will go a long way and establish the reputation of the city of Bixby. When I've seen other councils do that, frankly, you really want to treat them with more respect, and it's a place where people want to do business, and they can count on this council to back ethically, and that's the kind of government they want. So, I don't know what the council's preference is as far as taking action on this today. I certainly yield.
Well, do we have a motion on this? Or do we want to pass it to the next week?
I know you have a meeting on the 30th that at least tentatively scheduled. If you want to act upon it then.
Okay, let's, okay, okay.
Can
How do
we
we
move
pass
it?
it? Just say,
Can we move it to the 30th?
move it to the 30th, and I encourage everybody
a bit more time.
to contact Patrick night or day if you have a question on
Just
that.
go to the website and,
I have Patrick's home phone if you'd like to contact him in the middle of the night.
let me turn that off. No, anytime you have any questions, obviously, please
Okay,
contact
let's
me.
pass this.
shutting it off, Patrick.
Oh, no, sir. No.
Okay, so we will pass this item until the special meeting on March 30th.
At 3:30.
No,
That's
that's
what's-
the work session. The special meeting will be at 6.
Oh, okay.
That's- Do you want to,
It can be any time after 3:30. We do have some other business scheduled. But it doesn't have to be exactly
yeah,
6.
but our work sessions, we don't hardly ever get out of those with everything.
And if I remember right, Counselor Stewart has 6:30 deadline that you have to be out of here by then.
We'll put it, let's pass it until the work session on March 30th, and then if we don't,
Can we vote in
You
the
can
work
vote
session?
on it.
well, then we can come back and vote in regular council. How do we set that up?
Actually, Mayor, it is a special meeting of council, and it would be agendized properly, and you would be able to discuss it and vote on it. You just have to determine the exact location of your meeting. You'll be able to vote on it next Monday. The city attorney would work with the city clerk to get it posted properly.
Yes, yes,
So-
Will. And Counselor Loudermilk, I'm sorry, you did get a book eventually, but it
Yes,
just
I
got
got it
today.
today. Yes,
Okay.
I got this morning, but I had meetings all day long. There was no way I could have read it, so.
There'll be a speed reading course added to
Added to my,
your resume later on.
yes, well, I'm not that smart, so.
Okay, so,
But thanks, guys, for moving it.
so passed to March 30th, and Dennis is gonna have a report
I
on it.
will have a report.
Okay.
I'll have a comment.
I would like to go back and open up an agenda item. I can do that,
Yes.
can I not?
Yes, the meeting's still going on. so-
I would like to open up item number 4 again. I have given that a lot of thought. I would encourage someone, I want to see this project move forward, and I don't really want to vote no on that, but I think those attorney fees are a little high for a closing. And
What I would
but
like,
those folks out there want their intersection, and I don't want to slow that down, but those are awfully high closing costs.
well, what I did is base that on a previous proposal. Yeah,
So that's not what he's quoted
So
us.
that was the proposal. I don't know if those are actual costs. So what I what I'm going to do, and I intended to do, and I wrote myself a note,
Okay.
was to find out what the actual closing costs were on the other properties that we have and to provide that information to you all.
Frazier used to be our city attorney. He was always fair with his billing at that time.
I don't remember anything being near that amount. I think that was a number to cover
Well,
any and all
This amount was a
eventuality.
not to exceed. I did want to.
Yeah, but my goodness
Direction
gracious,
from council to.
closing.
It was closing a title opinion, and there were some other things that
Closing
were,
entitled, that's,
yeah, I'll go back and see what we've
we have
actually
a
charged.
realtor on the council here, and I think he can tell you what a normal closing ought to cost,
Yeah.
without any excess attorney work, but.
Not that much.
What should a normal run?
Less than 2,000, but he's doing 2 tracks that are crossing each other. They ought to be able to kind of do a lot of the work and.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna change my vote.
Okay, I will get
Let's
that
just
in. I will
appeal-
find out what we
let's-
did
let's appeal
on our
to
previous
Mr.
ones.
Frazier and
Yeah,
just-
But I
I'll
would
find-
think.
I just don't wanna vote no, because I
3,000
wanna keep
less
this
for
thing
both
going.
combined.
okay, and I'll find out, and it may be,
Thinking without looking, I don't know what all's involved.
okay, and I'll see what we spent. I don't think we spent
He's a
that.
fair guy,
Yeah.
so that was not his quote.
Right.
That was just your.
It was, I was working off a previous
Gotcha.
proposal which said not to exceed, so
That's it.
I picked a
Okay.
number.
Let's move on then to, item number 6, the city manager's report.
Council, I have to dismiss myself.
Okay, dismissed.
I'll use you as an excuse to be late.
And we'll
for
probably
class.
open up item number 5 after you leave.
Help me, Dennis.
I know, I promise.
I'm still gonna be the same.
We won't do that.
Is that the handbook?
I think will be soon.
Turn on your TV. Item number 6.
That's good. Me, big guy.
would be the city manager's report.
That would be, you're online.
All righty, thank you very much. Mayor, council, and guests, I did want to pass along just a few announcements and some information for the community. First of all, I want to announce a new service of our fire department that's going to be initiated effective April 1st. This has to do with pre-incident planning. What that does is basically being proactive so that our fire department goes out into both new buildings that are coming online and existing businesses, trying to visit them ideally once a year, to go in and pre-plan how we would respond to an incident at that particular commercial location or a multifamily structure. It will be conducted by fire companies who will be allowed to walk through the structures and take note of what they're finding there and log that information in our system so that they would have that in the event that they ever got a call to that particular scene. Items being recorded for planning documentation would include hazard locations, emergency contact information, the building layout, utility shut-off locations, and the like. You can appreciate how important having that information at hand and perhaps on the iPad on that fire company that's responding would be, so that we get there and can immediately be reminded as to what some of the hazards are and where to go to turn off utilities, etc. So we're going to be contacting building management to set up convenient times, and we'll work this off gradually as we go through the entire city. They'll be done during normal workday schedules, but it does give us a valuable tool to use in the event of an actual emergency at a pre-planned site. And it's certainly a vital component of maintaining our ISO ratings, which impact our insurance premiums for our residents in our community. So I appreciate the leadership of Chief Brian Wood, our new fire chief, that is getting this organized and get it underway. Also, just an announcement for the folks at home. This coming Friday is Arbor Day. We're going to celebrate, commemorate Arbor Day here in Bixby. We are a tree city, and we value urban forests that we have here. One effort as being part of Tree City is we bring folks together, and we'll have little children from the YMCA program coming down to Washington Irving Park, plus some other local residents coming in to join us. There'll be a ceremonial tree planting Friday morning, 11 a.m. in Washington Irving Park. We invite people to come be a part of that. And certainly, as we're coming into planting season, remember to plant appropriate trees in your neighborhood and get the advice of a good arborist as you know what's a safe tree that's sustainable. Now, Chief of Police had a busy weekend this past week in terms of recruitment efforts. They were undertaking recruitment efforts for a new police officer. They had 35 applicants start out through their process, which included physical agility tests, written tests, and then oral reviews. And just mention that council may not be aware the oral review process includes representation of the community. We have a citizen there that sits in those and is able to also hear how the questions are being answered. And this helps narrow down through the various tests and the oral interview applicants that will be advanced for consideration by the police chief as they narrow down. And so it's an ongoing process recruiting to fill a vacancy that we have there. And I know the chief mentioned to me that we also have we're posting a position in our dispatch operation. We have excellent communications officers that we often refer to as dispatchers that serve a very important function as well in support of our police officers and our firefighters and the community. And so people can learn about that on our website if they're interested in an opportunity as a dispatcher. I know Ike would love to have qualified applicants register their notice. Final point I think I have for tonight is that we've gotten word from Oklahoma Department of Transportation, that is ODOT, that has advised us that they've given a green light, if I may use the pun, here to the location of a new traffic signal at 146th and Memorial. This has been a long time coming. You'll recall there, if you're trying to exit 141st and access Memorial, there's traffic that queues up frequently there at that site, especially from people trying to turn left. Having gone again eastbound on 141st, they turn south a little bit, come to the intersection there, just across from intersections that leads you to Tijuana's and other businesses there. But it creates considerable traffic congestion as truck traffic and others are trying to turn northbound, going left against. So it's been a long time coming, but when we're using other people's funds, in this case it's 100% funded by the Oklahoma Department of Transportation through their surface transportation project. Normally there is a match, a local match, but in as much as this is on a state highway, after all, Memorial is a state highway, they've recognized the problem that it creates for public safety and for mobility through our community. And they've done their traffic warrants, and they say this situation warrants a traffic signal at this time. So they're going to include in a future bid letting, so it's their project, this information. And so it's, we're not able to estimate just how long it will take before they're able to get that here, but I would remind folks that we're all concerned about traffic safety and the lives of our children and neighbors and family members. This was only done after significant research, and there was actually a time where the members of this community voted to try to create an alternate route, which would have been much more expensive. And ultimately it was found this would be a more economical use of taxpayer dollars and accomplish a better result in general. That's my recollection, but I think that was looked at before I got here. I know that this is something that has been a long time coming. We've been asked periodically. At least we know that finally ODOT has decided to go forward with it. We'll apprise you when we get better information as to the timeliness of that. So other than that, I'd be glad to comment on anything that was in your packet that you had a question about. Thank you for the chance to report.
Any new business? Seeing none, we adjourn this meeting at 7:10 p.m. and we open up the Bixby Public Works Authority Board of Trustees meeting at 7:10 p.m. Let the record show that all members are present except Councilman Stewart, who had to leave. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Totoroff?
Yes.
Loudmout?
Yes.
Guthrie?
Yes.
And Easton?
Yes. Regular meeting, new business. Seeing none, we adjourn this meeting at 7:11 p.m.